Hello 8th class students. The next chapter which we are going to discuss is sound. It is a very easy and very simple chapter. There are very few topics in it which I am going to explain you. First was the videos related to sound which I am going to send you now in the continuation of this week. See, the chapter is very small, but in later on stages you will have a long continuation. So this is the foundation course which you will be getting in sound, so do watch it. Thank you.
Hello friends, this video on sound part 9 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Now we saw that sound travels both through solids as well as liquids, but where do sound travel faster? Now is it dependent, the speed of sound, is it dependent on the type of medium through which it is propagating? Yes, of course, it depends. And that is why it is seen that sound travels faster in solids than in liquids. So that means if sound has to travel through something like a wood or a metal, it will travel faster when compared to a liquid like water. Now you might be curious to know why is there a difference in the speed of sound in solids and in liquids. So let us see how exactly sound propagates. Now whenever we say that the sound is propagating, that is, sound is nothing but a wave, right? So this wave is like a disturbance which makes the particles of the medium to vibrate. So here if you see, this is a source of sound. This is maybe a speaker or something from which sound is being produced. And this is your ear which listens to that sound. So that means the sound is traveling from source to the human ear. So now when it travels, how it travels? It is nothing but it needs a medium so that the particles of the medium can vibrate. Now here what is the medium? Nothing but air. Now air contains a lot of tiny particles. Now these particles start vibrating. So here you see the black dots. They represent the particles of the medium, that is particles of the air. Now just try to look at this overall picture. What do you feel? You feel as if things are moving in this direction. That is what you feel, right? When you look at the overall picture, right? Now, what you try to do is just try to observe the movement of one dot. So what do you see? How is this one particular dot moving? It is just vibrating about its mean position like this. That's how it is moving. Just try to observe some other dot, any dot of your choice. Just try to observe one particular dot, and again you will see that it is nothing but it is just moving like this. It is just a to and fro motion. So basically when you observe it minutely, you will see that all the particles of the medium, they are just vibrating. They are doing nothing else. They are just vibrating and they are transferring the energy to the neighboring particles, and that is how sound is propagating from one place to another. So this is how sound propagates in simple words. Now, when I talk about solids and when I talk about liquids, how do they differ? So that's what we have to see. Now here, looking at this, you will see that at certain regions it is quite dense. There are too many particles. Again, for some region, less particle. Again, dense. So somewhere it is dense, somewhere it is less dense, right? You see these lines, wherever you can see, they are like more dense areas where there are more particles. So based on that, if you plot a graph, this is how you will get. You'll get crest and troughs, and that is how you define the wave nature of sound. So that is one thing. We will not get into all those details. So I hope you understood how sound is propagating. Now let us look at the scenario of a solid and a liquid. Now whenever you talk about a solid, in a solid, the particles are more. The particles are closely packed. So the intermolecular space is less. So you see more closely packed arrangement in solids. Whereas in case of liquid, the gaps are more, the intermolecular spaces are more. So in liquid it is lesser. So in case of solid, since the number of particles are more, So the chances of one particle hitting a neighboring particle is also more. Therefore, the propagation is going to be faster because the propagation of sound happens with the help of vibration of each particle of the medium. So if the medium is a solid, that means there are more particles present. More particles, more vibration, more transfer of energy. So faster propagation. So that is why sound travels faster in solids when compared to liquids. Again, if you look at the way it is getting propagated. So this concept will remain the same whether it is solid or liquid. It is just that the speed of sound, the speed of propagation will change. Now let's talk about gases. So what do you say? Sound travel through gases? Yes, of course. Had it not been traveling through gases, we would have not been able to hear each other's statements. That's because when we talk to each other, the medium which is present around us is nothing but air. So in air, the sound is able to travel. Speed of sound through air is approximately 330 meters per second. That is the approximate value for speed of sound through air. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again. Hello friends, this video on sound part 8 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So now let us talk about solids. Let us see or let us try to prove that sound can travel through solids. In fact, you can also prove these small things yourself. So let us take some examples of solids and we will see that how sound can propagate through them. So the first example that we can take is that of this wooden table. So this is wood. So wood is a solid, right? So here you see there are two guys. Now this guy, what is he doing is he is beating the table. So he is striking on the table. So that is producing some sound, correct? Okay. Now this sound is being heard by this person who is like, now he is not beating it very hard so that everybody can hear it. Like even if he is very gently tapping the table or he is scratching the table, and if somebody else who is on the extreme other end of the table and he keeps his ears close to the table, he would be able to hear the sound which is being made by first guy. So that is because, why is he able to hear this? Because sound can travel through solids. Now, if you want, you can try some other experiments also. For example, instead of using a wooden table, you might use a metal rod. So you use a metal rod and which is not hollow, it is like a solid rod, and somebody is making some sound on one end and you keep your ear on the other end and you will be able to hear the sound. So basically sound can travel through solids like metals or wood or strings, plastics, etc. So let us look at these examples. Like when you talk, you would have created the toy telephones when you were kids. Like you just take two boxes and then you attach them with a string and then you talk to each other. So how are you able to talk to each other? Because sound can travel through solids. Now when I say that sound can travel through solids, some of you might even think that, but I have heard people saying that there are certain substances which are very good in absorbing sound. So some of the solid materials also act as sound absorbers. So if we use those materials, sound gets reduced. One such example is curtains. You would have seen that if you have curtains in your house, the sound transfer reduces. Or let us say if you are sitting inside your study room and you are speaking something loudly. Now when the door of your study room is open, then your sound is reaching more to your living room. But when the door of your study room is closed, your sound is reaching less to the living room. Why? Because when the door is closed, or when you have things which are good sound absorbers like curtains or fiberglass or foam, etc. So these materials, they tend to absorb sound energy. So when they absorb, so less amount of sound energy is being transmitted further. So therefore you would have seen that in offices, the conference rooms or the recording rooms, they are all made soundproof, so that sound from outside cannot enter inside the room, and similarly sound from inside cannot come outside the room. But otherwise, when you talk about propagation of sound, sound can propagate through solids, whether it is metal, whether it is a wood, whether it is a string, whether it is a plastic. Sound can travel through them. And another important thing is, it is not only that it can travel, and it can also travel in all direction. It is not that it can only travel in one direction or it will travel only linearly, nothing like that. It just travels in all direction. Now we will take the same example. Now this guy is beating the table or striking the table. So the source of sound is here. This person is able to hear the sound from here. Now let us suppose if somebody is standing here, do you think he will also be able to hear the sound? Yes, of course. If somebody is standing just next to him here, will he be able to hear the sound? Yes, of course. That is because the sound travels in all direction from the source. It is not that it will travel only in one direction. Okay, so this was about propagation of sound through solids. Now let us talk about liquids. How sound travels through liquids. So now, in order to check the propagation of sound through liquids, you can perform this very simple experiment. What you can do is, you take any vessel containing water and fill water to the surface. Now, take a bell deep inside the water. So as you can see here, so the bell is completely under the water, and then you ring the bell. You just move it, so it should ring. Now, if sound travels through water, you should be able to hear the sound when you are at the surface of the water. Now, what do you see? You see that yes, you are able to hear the sound of the bell. So that proves that sound travels through liquids. In fact, this is how the aquatic organisms, they speak with each other. So if you look at the oceans, not only oceans, if you look at a small aquarium, you see a lot of living organisms inside that aquarium. Like you see a lot of different fishes, you also see small creatures. And what do you think? How do they communicate? So they also communicate with some sort of sound. And they are able to communicate with the help of sound because sound can propagate through water. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again. Hello friends, this video on sound part 11 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So let us see what exactly happens at the eardrum. Now just take this example. So this example will help you to understand what happens at the eardrum. So let us suppose you have a can. So such that you have removed the top and the bottom of the can. So it is just a cylinder which is open from top as well as bottom. Now you take a rubber kind of a stretchable substance, and you cover the top of this can. Maybe with a rubber band you just tie it up so that that's stretched. So it is like a stretched membrane now. Now you keep few grain seeds here, small grains, you keep it here. Now what do? This side is open. Now you speak something on this side, and what happens? The sound waves reach this membrane. Now this membrane being a stretched membrane, what happens? It starts vibrating. And how do you know it is vibrating? Because these grains, they start jumping. So they also start vibrating along with the membrane. So this shows that when sound waves reach a stretched membrane, the stretched membrane starts vibrating. And a similar thing happens in case of eardrum also. When the sound waves reach the eardrum starts to vibrate. Now what happens due to this vibration? Now due to the vibration of the eardrum, what happens is, these vibration means these kind of compressions and rarefaction will happen. Compressions are these dense areas, rarefactions are less dense areas. Again, compressions are more dense areas, rarefactions are less dense areas. So this is what I was telling you in one of the previous slides, right? So this wave-like structure is being formed. So that is how you get the sound waves. That is how your ear perceives the sound waves. So vibration of the eardrum is the most important thing that happens during the process of hearing. Now, your eardrum started vibrating, and that is how your ear got the frequency and the characteristics of the sound wave. Now, how will it enter into the inner ear? So then comes the middle ear. Next is middle ear. So the middle ear will receive the vibrations of the eardrum, and what will it do? It will just amplify the vibrations, because the vibrations will be like, it is not that it starts moving just like this. So the vibrations are going to be very less noticeable. So those vibrations get amplified by the middle ear, and in middle ear we have three bones which help in this amplification. And what are the three bones? Malleus, incus and stapes. So these three bones, which are also called as hammer, anvil and stirrup. So these three bones together form the middle ear, and they together help in the amplification of the eardrum vibrations. Now once the vibrations are amplified, then they reach the inner ear. So here the vibrations get amplified and then they reach the inner ear, which is also called cochlea. So cochlea is this coiled structure which you see here. That is the most important part of the inner ear, and in this part the vibrations are converted into electrical signals, because the vibrations alone are not going to help you. The vibrations need to be sent to the brain so that the brain can interpret what you are hearing and send it back to you. So how do you send those sound waves to the brain? So you cannot send it as it is. So the vibrations need to be converted into some electrical signals with the help of your nerves, and then the nerves will carry these signals to the brain, and then the brain will respond back, and that's how you will be able to understand what you heard. So that's how it works. So these conversion into electrical signals take place in the inner ear, and then with the help of the auditory nerve it is sent to the brain. So that is how the entire process of hearing takes. So we saw how important ear is. Without ear functioning properly, we will not be able to hear anything, any of the sounds which are being produced around us. So therefore, it is extremely important that this sensitive organ is well protected. So what are some of the things that we can take care in order to ensure that the ear is well protected? One such thing is, don't listen to music too loud for too long, because if the music is very loud, what happens is those sound waves, they are directly hitting the eardrum of the ear. So there are chances that the eardrum might get adversely impacted. Prefer muff type headphones over earbud style ones. Now you would have seen that there are two types of headphones available these days. One is the muff type ones, the one which you see on the screen. So these are called the muff type headphones. So they are safer because they are not in direct contact with your eardrum. Whereas there are other type of headphones which are like, you do not have this entire band, you have small things which can be inserted inside the ear. So they should be less preferred because they are like in direct touch with your eardrum. Do not use sharp and hard objects like pin to clean your ear. Like it's a common habit for a lot of people to use these kind of sharp and hard objects to clean the ear, and that's how they go in direct contact with the eardrum, and they can very easily damage the eardrum. In fact, they can actually cause some problem to the eardrum. So you should always try to use the soft buds to clean your ear, because the tip is quite soft. So even though it comes in touch with your eardrum, it doesn't harm it, or it doesn't cause any sort of breakage to the membrane of the eardrum. So these are some of the things which should be kept in mind in order to ensure that the eardrum is well protected. Okay, so by now what all did we learn about sound? How is sound produced, how sound propagates, and how do we hear sounds? Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again. Hello friends, this video on sound part 15 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Next important thing is pitch of a sound wave. What is pitch? Now, like the way loudness and amplitude are related to each other, similarly pitch and frequency are related to each other. Now, perception of frequency of sound wave. Now, as the frequency of the sound wave varies, the way the sound comes out, that also varies. So, let me give you some examples. Look at the example of a guitar and a keyboard. So, the sound that comes out of a guitar is very different from the sound that comes out of a keyboard. Similarly, if you look at the male and female voice, do you think that the voice of a male and a female are similar? No. So that they are different. So a female voice is more shrill, whereas a male voice is more hoarse and rough. So why are these differences? These differences are due to the differences in their frequencies. Now, as the frequency changes, pitch of the sound also changes. Now, higher frequency will have higher pitch and lower frequency has lower pitch. So when we say pitch, pitch is nothing but shrillness in the voice. For example, if you look at a female voice has higher pitch when compared to a male voice. A male voice has a lower pitch. So the male voice is less shrill. So that is pitch. So this means that the frequency of the sound produced by a female is higher. Now what do we mean by higher frequency? Okay, so if we talk about high frequency, so high frequency would look somewhat like this. That means it is covering too many oscillations over a period of time. So the waves will be like closer to each other because more number of oscillations are happening over a period of time. Now, if you talk about low frequency, so this is how it would look. So in case of low frequency, if you see, the waves are more spread, therefore the number of oscillations. So here if you see, over this much period of time, the number of oscillations are maybe how many oscillations are there? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost 9 to 10. But here how many? Only 1, 2 and 3. So here, so this is how a high frequency will look like and this is how a low frequency will look like. So high frequency would mean high pitch and low frequency would mean low pitch. So objects of different sizes and conditions vibrate at different frequencies to produce sounds of different pitch. So let us look at a low pitch and high pitch sound. So here you can see this has low frequency. Now since it has low frequency, therefore it has low pitch. In this case, this has high frequency and therefore it has higher pitch. Now let us look at some of the examples of sounds around us and let's compare their pitch and loudness. Now please remember that loudness is always associated with amplitude and pitch is always associated with frequency. So let us take the example of a male voice and a female voice. So in this case, a female voice has a higher pitch. Male voice has a lower pitch. But if you talk about the loudness, a male might have the ability to speak louder than a female. However, that again depends from person to person. But what I'm trying to say is it is also possible, it is not necessary that a sound which is more loud has to have higher pitch. Because loudness and pitch are two different things. They are dependent on two different characteristics. So even if we can have a wave which has a higher amplitude but a lower frequency. So I will give you an example. So let us suppose we have a wave like this. So this wave has got higher frequency, right? Because there are too many oscillations over a particular period of time. On the other hand, we have a wave like this, which has a lower frequency, because if you see, the number of oscillations are really less. But if you look at the amplitudes, in this case the frequency is more Amplitude is less because amplitude is denoted by the height of the wave, that is the maximum displacement on the y-axis. But in this case, the frequency is less but the amplitude is more. So therefore, frequency and amplitude are two different parameters, and therefore it is very well possible that a sound which is more loud might have a lower pitch. Let us look at some more examples. So if you compare the sound of a lion with the sound of a bird, what do you see? The sound of a bird has a higher pitch, it is more shrill. That is because the frequency is higher. But if you compare the loudness, so here the loudness might be more. The sound of a lion is more loud, but it has a lesser pitch. That's because the frequency of sound is less in case of a lion. You take the examples of musical instruments like drums and flute. So in case of flute also, the pitch is more because the sound is very shrill. And in case of a drum, it is like, it is loud, though it is loud, but the shrillness is not there. It is not shrill. It is very rough and hoarse. So this is how you can identify the pitch and loudness of various sounds that you hear around yourself. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again. Hello friends, this video on sound part 13 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So the next thing that we are going to talk about is the wavelength of a wave. What is wavelength? Now if you look at a wave, you will see that the wave will have an upper portion and a lower portion. So this peak of the wave is termed as the crest. This is called crest. So this is crest. And the valley of the wave is known as trough. So this is the valley of the wave and this is called trough. So any wave is nothing but alternate crests and troughs. So these crests are caused by compression. So if you remember how the particles of the medium, they vibrate. So we saw that there are regions of compressions and rarefactions alternatively. So the compressions region form the crest and the rarefaction region form the trough. So that is how we get this type of a wave. So now what do we mean by wavelength? So wavelength is the distance between two consecutive crests or troughs. So this is the first crest. Which is the next crest? This is the next crest. This is the third crest. Similarly, this was the second trough. Now distance between two crests. So this distance is termed as wavelength. So distance between any two crests or distance between any two troughs, that is called wavelength. So basically you can say the entire distance covered by one wave is termed as wavelength. So if you see, each of these are equal intervals. So if you started from 0, so let us say this is time. Okay, so this much time, so the time here is equal to the time here. Again the time here is equal to the time here. So these are like equal intervals of time, and that is why it is a periodic motion, right? So wherever I have given these red dots, they represent equal intervals of time. So if you see, if you try to measure the wavelength, so the distance between two crests is basically the same as the distance between the two troughs. So that is wavelength. Right? Or in simple words, you can also say that this distance, so you see this distance is actually, it is starting from here till here, right? So it is starting from this point till this point. Now we can also say, if you increase this to here, if you start the measurement from here, so this side also you will decrease by 1, so you will measure it till here. So you can also say that this entire length is one wavelength, like this distance is one wavelength. So it is up to you how you want to measure one wavelength. So whenever you talk about a wave, either the distance between the two crests or the distance between the two troughs, or just one wave, the distance between the beginning of one wave to the beginning of the next wave. So that is one wavelength. So I hope it is clear what is wavelength. So we normally denote wavelength by lambda. It is denoted by lambda. So let me give you a quick recap because I don't want you to get confused. So let us suppose this is the wave. So one wavelength could be this distance from this point to this point. This is also lambda. This is also lambda, and this is also lambda. So they are all the same distance. It is measured in meters because it is nothing but length. So we are actually talking about the length. So it is measured in meters. Now that we have discussed about amplitude and wavelength. Now as I mentioned that amplitude and loudness are very closely related to each other. So greater the amplitude, greater would be the loudness. So they are directly proportional to each other. So loudness, to be more precise, loudness is proportional to the square of amplitude of vibration that produces the sound. So that means loudness is directly proportional to the square of amplitude. So if your amplitude becomes double, then your loudness will become 4 times. Right? If your amplitude becomes 3 times, then the loudness will increase by 9 times. So even though the force, and your amplitude is dependent on the force. So basically, if amplitude is increasing by small amount also, but the loudness is going to increase by a large amount. So if, let us say, amplitude increases by 4 times. So earlier the amplitude was say A, and now the amplitude has become 4A. So what would be the loudness? Now loudness is proportional to the square of amplitude. So therefore loudness will become 16 times. So loudness will increase by 16 times. So with that you can just make an idea about how the loudness increases in the different sounds. So let us take some of the examples of sounds around us. So let's take the sound of the horns of vehicles during traffic hour. So what is the sound? You will see that a lot of vehicles are honking during traffic. So the sound that time is almost around, the loudness is around 70 decibels. So decibel is the unit in which loudness is expressed. So 70 decibels would be the sound during peak traffic hours. Now what is the loudness of sound when we normally speak to each other? Like we are neither speaking too loud nor are we speaking too softly. So during a normal conversation, the loudness is around 60 decibels. So you see, during traffic it is little more than our normal conversation. Now let us suppose if you are whispering. So during whisper, this loudness becomes almost half. It is around 30 decibels. And when we breathe, even breathing involves a sound which is very soft. You don't really get to hear it until and unless you pay full concentration to it. So breathing, it has a loudness of around 10 decibels. So that is how the loudness of different sounds are different, and the loudness is proportional to the amplitude. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again.